Part 97. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 961. What are you doing? Wen Qiao raised his eyes and looked at her. After you finish writing, can't you play games for a while? Open the page just now and show it to me. Wen Qiao switched to the exam paper page. Su Ying said sharply, who knows if you have searched the internet for answers? Wen Qiao said indifferently, your parents are watching from behind. He Mei and Su Hai said quickly, no, Qiao only clicked this after finishing the paper. Su Ying chuckled, how do my parents know about computers? Wen Qiao narrowed his eyes slightly. Fortunately, the whole process of answering the questions was recorded on the screen. She understood Su Ying's villainous character, so she retained this skill. Su Ying snorted softly, you are still recording the screen, who are you guarding against? Wen Qiao said bluntly, if I'm guarding against you, who else can I guard against? You. Wen Qiao gave her a casual look. Su Ying's hands were shaking with anger, I'm just going to see how many questions you can answer with such arrogance. Looking at the answer, I looked at Wen Qiao's first question, and suddenly I felt a thrill in my heart. She was actually fooled. Looking at the second question again, you are right again. Keep scrolling down, every question is correct. Su Ying's hand holding the mouse tightened slightly until the last question. Su Ying was a little annoyed. As an art student, why was she so proficient in computers and mathematics? Wen Qiao said coldly, how was it? How many questions did you get wrong? Su Ying's face turned blue and white, and she almost dropped the mouse in her hand. Wen Qiao and her brother like to pretend to be pigs and eat tigers. They usually look like humans and animals are harmless. Such people are the most dangerous and will always bite someone at a critical moment. She often misled them and often lost her memory. He Mei pulled Su Ying's sleeve, how many questions did you get wrong? Everyone was staring at Su Ying. Su Ying could only bite the bullet and said in a voice like a mosquito, that's right. He Mei, what? That's right? Is every question correct? Su Ying gritted her teeth, yes, every question is correct. He Mei and Su Hai praised each other, oh, Wen Qiao and Wen Mo, are really geniuses. Their IQs are so high. Su Ying shot herself in the foot, and it wasn't the first time. She didn't know how many times she had to hit herself in the foot before she could remember it. Su Ying comforted herself. She had established a foothold in a multinational group just after graduation and was already very powerful, at least better than her brother-in-law Su Ce. At the dinner table, Wen Qiao began to beat Su Ying again, my uncle has always been engaged in medical research, but he doesn't have so much desire for fame and fortune now, so he won't fight for it. It doesn't mean that even you can look down on him. Su Ying said with a smile, what kind of research has my uncle done? Has he published any papers? In which direction? Su Ce smiled slightly, you won't understand even if I say it. Su Ying almost jumped up again. Did you learn pretending to be cool from Wen Qiao? But seeing Wen Qiao's indifferent expression, she didn't dare to have an attack. Forget it, my uncle has no achievements, so if he likes to show off, let him do it. If you pretend to be cool and get struck by lightning, sooner or later you will be overturned. Su Ying ate this meal with great frustration. She was very honest now and did not dare to mess with Wen Qiao, the old man. Eating was like chewing wax. After finally eating, she had to drag her parents away. He Mei scolded her, how come the older you are, the less polite you are? Your aunt and uncle haven't finished eating yet. The elders haven't finished eating. How can the younger ones leave the table? Su Ying almost died of anger. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 962. Susie ate extremely slowly, chewed carefully, and ate every bite with great grace. Wen Qiao felt that his uncle was a little naive sometimes, but this kind of naivete could drive Su Ying crazy, which was good. Finally, when dinner was over, Su Ying couldn't wait to drag her parents out of here. Wen Qiao raised the corner of her mouth, hoping that Su Ying would have a longer memory and stop looking for trouble in the future. Su Yun handed the lunch box to Ji Mingyuan. You drive to deliver some food to Ziokai. He has been training very hard at the club recently. Ji Mingyuan took the lunch box. Let's go now. Wen Qiao also hadn't seen Wen Qi for a while, so the whole family rushed to the AF club together. On the way, Wen Qiao asked her uncle, I used to only focus on learning acupuncture for rheumatism. Recently, I want to learn how to treat cerebral infarction and high blood pressure. Uncle, can you do it? Susie, well, I know a little bit. Why do you want to learn this? Who has cerebral infarction and high blood pressure? Wen Qiao, Fu Nanli's grandfather. Susie raised his eyebrows slightly. First, this girl wanted to treat his grandmother, and now she wanted to treat his grandfather. Her heart was completely tied to Fu Nanli, which had to worry him. But he still nodded. Well, you are already very familiar with acupuncture point identification. If I tell you about it, you should be able to understand everything. Wen Qiao, thank you, uncle. Susie rubbed the top of her head. You're welcome to my uncle. When they arrived at the club, Wen Qi and the others were training in the training room, while Brother Dong and his uncle were chatting aside. Brother Dong was very respectful to his savior, but his uncle said calmly, as long as it's easy, I will save anyone who does that. Brother Dong, it was also because you saved me. When I saw Wen Qiao's photo, I made up my mind to come here to coach her. Wen Qiao asked him, how are they training? There will be a domestic competition in the second half of the year. Are they sure of winning the championship? Wen Qi came over holding a lunchbox. VG's flower photo has retired. Wen Qiao, VG won the Busan championship before. Now that Hua Zhao has retired, does it mean that VG can no longer beat our club? Brother Dong shook his head. It's hard to say. Hua Zhao will be replaced by Shark. This Shark, as the name suggests, is extremely ferocious and menacing. His fighting style is very brutal, much more brutal than Hua Zhao. Wen Qi, he is cruel to others, but I am not afraid of him. Brother Dong patted him on the shoulder. You don't need to be afraid of him. He is about the same level as you, but his aura is very intimidating. This young man is also quite arrogant. Wen Qiao, isn't that the second falling shadow? Brother Dong nodded. Indeed, technically he is better than Luo Ying. Wen Qiao asked again, how are Shen Tian, Xiaobo, Ding Hai, Yuzhan, and the others doing in practice? Her opponent has added another general, and one of her generals, Gu Xiao, is not sure where his brother has taken him, and she doesn't know whether he is awake or comatose now. I always feel unsure. They are all good. Now Xiaobai has become a member of the first team, and Ding Hai and the members of the second team are also training very hard. With that said, he called Wen Qiao to his office. Brother Dong said bluntly, now this group can play anywhere and win the top 3. I'm not exaggerating. Wen Qiao nodded, yeah. Xiaobai is very good, but compared to Gu Xiao, he lacks talent. This kind of thing is difficult to overcome even if Xiaobai trains non-stop. It's not that Xiaobai is not good. In the domestic player rankings, he is definitely we can make it into the top 10, but VG has an extra Shark and a player named Green Wind, replacing another player who is relatively lagging behind. Think about it, we lost against VG last year. At that time with Gu Xiao here, now that VG has reorganized its team members, Shark and Hua Zhao are on par with each other, Green Wind is stronger than before, and our Gu Xiao has become Xiaobai now, and I have no intention of saying anything bad about Xiaobai. Wen Qiao nodded, I understand what you mean, which means that with the current members, we will still be the runner-up, right? Brother Dong nodded. You can compete for the championship, but the probability of success is about 30%. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 963. Wen Qiao breathed a sigh of relief. Wen Qi and the others all know about the reorganization of the VG team, right? They all know that training has been a bit desperate recently. Everyone trains for more than 16 hours. Wen Qiao, Brother Dong, you have to urge them to balance work and rest, and not to work too hard. Don't worry, I have very strict requirements on work and rest, and I also have a dedicated psychological counselor and nutritionist. I won't let them have any physical problems. Well, I think the current combination is okay. Xiaobai is capable and hard-working. Gu Xiao was injured before. Now I don't even know his whereabouts. And we can't just rely on one player. Brother Dong, well, fortunately, Wen Qi here is outstanding. He is the backbone of the team, not Gu Xiao. As long as he is here, this team has unlimited possibilities. When he returned to the training room, he saw Xiaobai running out. Wen Qi took off his headphones and followed him. Wen Qiao was a little confused. What's going on? Shen Tian, it's nothing. Xiaobai didn't fire the last shot properly. It's not a big deal, but he seems to blame himself. Wen Qiao also followed out. Xiaobai sat on the steps of the small courtyard, and Wen Qi leaned against the wall with one hand in his pocket. What are you doing? No one blames you. Isn't it like this when playing games? How can anyone still stand still? Xiaobai secretly wiped away tears. I didn't expect to remain standing forever. Wen Qi rubbed his hair irritably. Why are you still crying? How big a deal is this? You played very well. The top 10 players in the country secretly wiped away their tears. Are you going to give me back? Is anyone else alive? Xiaobai, Brother Qi, I'm very stressed. You big woolen man, you can fight however you want. If we win, we celebrate together. If we lose, we continue to work hard. Why should there be pressure? Xiaobai, a talented player like you doesn't understand me. Wen Qi almost wanted to kick him. Can you please stop being so jabbering? Do you want me to cheer you up every day? You are very strong, can you please stop belittling yourself? Xiaobai remained silent. Wen Qi, look, there is nothing that cannot be achieved through hard work. Now I can use idioms to comfort people. How could I dare to think about it before? Xiaobai still remained silent. Wen Qi was so irritable that he really wanted to kick someone, but Wen Qiao pulled him back. What are you doing? Wen Qi, this grandson always shows me sentimentality. I look annoyed and teach him a lesson so that he will dare to do this again in the future. Wen Qiao clicked his tongue. Go in for training, Xiaobai, and I will talk. Can you? Wen Qiao narrowed his eyes, and Wen Qi hurriedly said, you must be able to do it. I can't do it without you. The flowers were in full bloom in the yard, and elegant birds were perching on the branches. Wen Qiao slowly sat down and said, I probably know why you are so stressed. Xiaobai secretly wiped away his tears. It was too embarrassing to cry in front of Sister Qiao. Why? Because you are competing with Zhao Xiao every move. You are not fighting alone, but two people are fighting. You also have Gu Xiao on your back. Every time you play the game, you will think, if it is Gu Xiao, here how to fight. How to perform, when to shoot, and when to use sniper. Xiaobai's eyes flashed, and Sister Qiao analyzed it very well. He does. Gu Xiao caused him a lot of psychological burden. He had to think this way, because he wanted to be like Gu Xiao, standing on the highest podium with the members of the AF club. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 964. There was tremendous pressure on him. Wen Qiao reached out and patted his shoulder gently. Do you know that Gu Xiao has now become a shackle that restrains you? The more you want to be like him, the more it will restrict your performance. Xiaobai's eyes turned red again, but Sister Qiao, this kind of thing is out of control. I also know that this is not good, but I can't help but compare. Wen Qiao nodded. Well, I know this kind of thing is not under your control, but I will tell you a secret. What? I actually own this club. Xiaobai, aren't you a relative of Sister Yu Yu's family? No, then I lied to you because I was afraid that Wen Qi would know that my sister is the boss of the boss. Xiaobai wiped away tears. Sister Qiao, you are actually the boss. Wen Qiao rubbed his head. Yes, I am the boss. As you know, my boss is more Buddhist. It would be the best if I can win the championship. But if I can't win the championship, it actually doesn't matter to me, because I think for many things, the process is more important than the result. Xiaobai nodded. Yes. He knows Sister Qiao, and Sister Qiao is indeed such a person. Then the boss told you not to put too much pressure on yourself. I'm very happy to win second place. Can you relax a little? Xiaobai hesitated. Wen Qiao smiled. Gu Xiao certainly has Gu Xiao's advantages, but you also have what Gu Xiao lacks. People can't compare. In any aspect, once you compare, it will be a bottomless pit. There are people outside the world, and there is a sky outside the sky. You have to be yourself. Trying your best is the most valuable thing. I admire you for this. Xiaobai hugged Wen Qiao and cried out. Wen Qi rushed out after hearing the sound and wanted to kick him. You grandson, do you know who you are hugging? If you dare to hug my sister, I will tell my brother-in-law that your life will be lost. Xiaobai was like a child, hugging Wen Qiao tightly and refusing to let go no matter what Wen Qi said. Grandson, you're screwed. My brother-in-law is notoriously jealous. If this comes to his ears, you're screwed. Wen Qiao glanced at him. Why do you always scare people? Your brother-in-law is not so indifferent to right from wrong. After comforting Xiaobai, he finally felt much better and took Wen Qi to the training room. I have to rest at 10 o'clock today, so hurry up and fight. Don't you normally go to bed at 2 o'clock? I won't stay up late today. I want to rest and adjust my mentality. Wen Qi looked back at his sister. What did his sister say that made this boy change so much in an instant? The next day, it was a rainy day. Qiuya came again to the Fu family mansion. The old man was watching the horse racing, and Qiuya was making kung fu tea as usual. She smiled brightly and said, Grandpa Fu, last time I saw Wen Qiao and Nan Li's grandmother doing acupuncture. They were very attentive. The old lady also praised her full of praise and gave her an ancestral bracelet. Fu Huaiyong chuckled, that girl really knew how to behave in front of that old lady. Thinking about it, he felt even more unbalanced. After all, he is Nan Li's grandfather, and the same happened last time during the horse racing. She bluntly said that she was not trying to please him, but purely because she liked horse racing. Apart from working on the farm, this girl has never done anything to please him. If she is treated differently, then don't expect him to agree to her entry into the Fu family. Let's see how long that old lady can hold her up. Qiuya added fuel to the fire and told the old man about the relationship between the two. Fu Huaiyong frowned and came to his senses. So Xiaoa, you also went to Yuanyi's mansion, right? Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 965. Chuya's heart skipped a beat. The old man is quite chauvinistic, and he doesn't get along well with Nan Li's grandmother, and he doesn't really like the powerful old lady in his heart. If he doesn't like Wen Qiao trying to please the old lady, he naturally doesn't like her trying to flatter him either. Why did she neglect it? It should be said that I have heard about it, so why did I get involved? She quickly said, that's right, my grandfather and the old lady have collaborated before and published a book together. Recently, my grandfather, he wanted to reprint this book, so he specially sent me to communicate with the old lady. Who would have thought that I would meet Wen Qiao by chance? It's rare for me to bump into him every time I go there. It can be seen that Wen Qiao will go to Yuanyi's mansion from time to time. Fu Huaiyang said coldly, the old lady has always been very protective of that girl. Chuya clenched her fingers. For someone like her who always speculates on other people's thoughts, life is very tiring. A sentence always has to be broken into countless parts. She just wants to consider every word and use a magnifying glass to carefully study its meaning. What does the old man mean by this? Because the old lady always protects Wen Qiao, is there nothing wrong with Wen Qiao visiting the old lady? So do you think it would be difficult for her to make such a small report in private? Does Grandpa Fu not like her anymore? But she didn't dare to say more, for fear that she would make a mistake if she said too much. After Chuya left, Fu Huaiyang asked Uncle Li, the girl gave the old lady acupuncture, will it be effective? Uncle Li said cheerfully, I heard from the housekeeper over there that the old lady was full of praises. I don't know if it was to prevent the child from getting down or something. I just think medicine is so difficult, and acupuncture is really not just a matter of 2 or 3, it can be learned in just a month. The old lady loves the child so much that it doesn't matter if Xiao Wen doesn't come to treat you. If the old man refuses her, the young master will be unhappy. Uncle Li was observing the old man's reaction while talking. Seeing the old man's sullen face, he knew that even if Xiao Wen was not good at academics, the old man still felt that he had been neglected, and he felt a little unfair. Therefore, since the last horse racing meeting, the old man's grudge against Xiao Wen has slowly disappeared. It seems that the old man has seen some of the child's advantages. I believe that in the near future, the young master will no longer need to be caught in the middle. Oh, by the way, old man, there will be a horse racing meet in Haikan in half a month. Will you go to the race course then? Go, why not go? Uncle Li smiled, okay, I'll make arrangements here. Wen Qiao suddenly received a call from her grandfather, who sounded anxious, saying that Song Yu had fallen and asked her to come over quickly. When Wen Qiao heard this, he quickly drove to the countryside. The small horse racing farm near Grandpa's house was taken over by Wen Qiao. The venue was not big, and it was just perfect for Song Yu to come and train on weekdays. On the way, he received another call saying that Song Yu had been sent to the hospital. Wen Qiao felt that the situation was not good and went straight to the hospital. In the emergency room, he heard Song Yu's screams. Outside the operating room, her grandfather's forehead was covered with sweat. The god of war lost his temper again and threw Song Yu down. Wen Qiao's heart sank. Is the injury serious? Probably broken bones. Wen Qiao held onto the wall. In less than half a month, the Masters was about to start. Song Yu was injured at this juncture. Where would she go to find the jockey? The key is the god of war's temperament. In a short period of time, the jockey found will definitely not be able to get along well with him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 966. But now she was not concerned about the game, but about Song Yu's injury. She entered the consulting room. Song Yu screamed. When Xiao came to her side, Song Yu held her hand, and tears fell down. Wen Xiao, I'm sorry. I accidentally fell off my horse. I may not be able to help you compete. Wen Xiao touched her head. Your health is important. It doesn't matter if you don't participate in a game. Doctor, how is her injury? The calf bone of my right leg is fractured, and I need to put on steel bars and a plaster cast. Song Yu cried even harder. Ah. Is it so serious? Do you need to add steel bars? The doctor said solemnly, of course, if the bone is broken, can it not be reinforced? Wen Xiao nodded. Okay, doctor, help her put on the steel bars and plaster. Then he said to Song Yu, have you contacted your family? Well, my parents will be here soon. Take good care of yourself. But what should we do about the competition? Wen Xiao, don't worry about this. Not long after, Song Yu's family members came, while Wen Xiao and his grandfather went to the horse farm. The god of war was eating feed leisurely in the stable, without any sense of shame of hurting others. The old man was so angry that he wanted to hit it with a branch, but Wen Xiao stopped him and said, it doesn't understand anything. How did it fall down at that time? At that time, that girl Song Yu ran a new record and was quite excited. When she was holding the reins, her movements might have been a little wild. The god of war suddenly lost his temper. This little beast has quite a temper. You have to control it. Wen Xiao, forget it, don't worry about it. She didn't even know where the horse god of war got from this horse farm. She only knew that god of war had a wild temperament. It had been tamed now, but occasionally he would still get angry suddenly. Moreover, it is also because of its wild temperament that it has strong explosive power. There may be gains and losses. She touched the god of war's head, and the god of war nodded to her affectionately. The old man wiped his sweat and said, this little thing is weird at recognizing people. You don't come here very often. It is more affectionate with you than with that girl Song Yu. He seems to be humane. I know you are its owner. Wen Xiao smiled, how could he be so awesome? She gently lectured the god of war, you have to restrain your temper in the future, you know? Song Yu has been with you for so long, and we have even been on the podium together, how could you throw someone like that? Next time, I'm punishing you, you know. As if he could understand human words, the god of war lowered his head. The old man shouted, it's really amazing. When I taught it a lesson, it seemed very unconvinced. This little beast really depends on what other people do. At night, Song Yu was lying on the hospital bed with a plaster on her leg, and Wen Xiao went to the hospital again. Song Yu grabbed an apple and gnawed it. Wen Xiao put the fruit basket and flowers aside. How long will you stay in the hospital? The doctor said to stay for 2 weeks and then go home to recuperate. Song Yu asked, have you thought about who will replace me? Is there a suitable jockey? Wen Xiao frowned, the Horse Racing Association has a group. I asked the president to help me inquire. Tomorrow there will be 2 jockeys to try riding. I hope I can choose the right one. Song Yu, it's hard to say, the god of war is very picky. Song Yu really hit the mark. The 2 jockeys who came the next day couldn't get along with the god of war. For half a day, the god of war was still cold and wild, almost throwing the man off the horse several times. Thank you for being closed today, trouble, 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 Hangongjang, think about it, Miao Kishao, Liang Chuan, 9 purple swaying, a lifelong bond, messing up the summer blue and the sea, cutting off the love, group, little lazy cat, stars, galaxies, poor girl who loves to read novels, mermaid, cherish ink like gold, Yang Yu Yuman, user 2423211502, Yan Hanbing, quiet and elegant, Junkai's delicate palm, ice cream, half-tilted umbrella conveys lightness sorrow. Mengpo, Wine Pigeon, Wei Bur, Sunshine Bell, Nananan, Yi Meng, So the Laziest Cub, Xiao Bai Bai, Zijin, Yes Yen, Smile Sweetly, Zhening, Ying, Yongxiang Clothes Hua Xiang Rong, Ming Shuian, Lovio, Leisurely Tea Charm, Closing Light, Indecent Don't Give Up, Xiao Chen Wants to Sleep, Reward. There is also a circle with symbols, and the ID cannot be typed. Respectfully and sincerely. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 967. The two experienced jockeys shook their hands and said, "This horse is too wild and we really can't control it." After saying that, the two of them ran away in a hurry. Wen Qiao sat on the grass and looked up at the god of war. "Tell me, why are you so picky?" The god of war ate grass slowly and contentedly. "Song Yu called over, how's it going?" "Wen Qiao, unfortunately, what you said is true. Those two jockeys can't get along with the god of war." Song Yu suddenly thought, "How about you try it yourself?" Wen Qiao was stunned. "Me? Yes, I remember one time when you tried riding a horse, it was no slower than me. The god of war seems to be very close to you. As long as you ride it, it is docile and very hard-working." Wen Qiao hesitated. "I'm not a professional." "Oh, professional or not, as long as you have speed, I will teach you some other professional training over the phone. Speed is the most critical." Wen Qiao hesitated for a while, "Then I'll give it a try." As soon as the phone was hung up, her grandfather started yelling, "That girl Song Yu, do you want you to do it yourself?" Wen Qiao touched his neck. "This seems to be the only thing we can do now." Mr. Su waved his hand. "That won't work. This little thing has a very wild temper. What if he throws you down?" Wen Qiao, "Probably not." "What shouldn't happen? What guarantee do you have?" Wen Qiao, "I'll just try it once." Then she saw her grandfather taking the phone and making a call. Wen Qiao was silent. "Grandpa, who are you calling?" "Give it to your boyfriend Fu Nanli. I think you only listen to him now." Wen Qiao. Fu Nanli, a person who always has everything to do, was summoned by her grandfather with just one phone call. Wen Qiao sat on the grass and lazily watched the tall man getting closer and closer. Grandpa stepped forward to snitch, "This girl is very willful and insists on becoming a jockey." Fu Nanli glanced at Wen Qiao, who looked directly into his eyes without any guilt. The old man added, "Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't have stopped her, but that girl Song Yu just fell down yesterday and her leg was broken. Nanli, tell me, can my girl still be this jockey?" Fu Nanli smiled, "Grandpa, let me talk to her." "Hey, you tell me, I'll take this little thing to the river for a walk." Wen Qiao and Fu Nanli were the only ones left in front of the stable. Fu Nanli sat on the grass with Wen Qiao with a serious look on his face. "Song Yu is injured." Wen Qiao, "Well, it's just an accident." "Then can you guarantee that such an accident will not happen to you?" Wen Qiao said silently and stopped talking. How could she guarantee such a thing? After all, the god of war is not a human being and cannot be completely controlled by her. The profession of jockey is not something you can do if you have some interest, get on a horse, and run fast. We will all be worried about your safety. Wen Qiao held his chin with one hand. "I just want to try it once. What if I fall?" "If you fall, you will be hospitalized." Fu Nanli was so angry that he had a headache. "Song Yu is considered lucky to be like that. You know some people fall off their horses, and the horses are frightened and trample with iron hooves. Most humans are mortal bodies, so it's easy." Wen Qiao shook his hand. "I have a sense of propriety, and the god of war is not that easy to lose his temper." Fu Nanli reached out and pressed his temples. He knew Wen Qiao's temperament. Therefore, when the old man came back with the god of war in hand, Fu Nanli pointed at the god of war with a cold expression, "You'd better be docile. If you dare to lose your temper when Wen Qiao rides you, I will stomp on you and eat horse meat." Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 968. Maybe it's because Fu Nanli's aura is too fierce, but the god of war also looks docile and well behaved in front of him. The old man was anxious. "Nanli, do you really want this girl to be a jockey?" Fu Nanli basically would not interfere with Wen Qiao's interests and hobbies, and supported her in moving towards her dreams. Only this time, her safety will indeed be involved. But if she insisted on doing so, he wouldn't object too much. She should be measured herself. Although I said this, I was very worried. Wen Qiao asked someone to bring a night costume, and Fu Nanli personally helped her put on a helmet and tied knee pads on her knees and elbows. "Be careful, as long as you are injured once, you will never be allowed to do it again." Horse riding. Wen Qiao suddenly felt a little stressed, but he still nodded, "I promise not to get hurt." She turned around, took the reins of the god of war, and touched his head. "Let's work hard together and stand on the highest podium together." The god of war neighed, seeming to understand what she said. Wen Qiao got on his horse neatly, with a valiant expression and high spirits. Fu Nanli's heart was always in his heart. Wen Qiao took the reins and turned the horse's head, and the god of war rushed out like an arrow from the string. The old man covered his heart and shouted, "Slow down, you girl has never been trained, you are riding so fast." Fu Nanli's heart was always in his heart. His little friend has a free soul, and he doesn't want to tie her down in the name of love. Wen Qiao was riding on the horse, feeling the lightning and the strong wind in her ears. She enjoyed the adrenaline rush. Finally, after one lap, she tightened the reins, and the god of war stopped steadily in front of Fu Nanli. Fu Nanli felt relieved. Wen Qiao raised his hand and looked at his watch, 2.5 minutes, about the same speed as Song Yu. Fu Nanli's stiff expression softened. Wen Qiao was indeed talented in everything, both civil and military. His little friend shines brighter and brighter in her life. He stretched out his hand. "Is it okay?" "Wen Qiao, I have to run a few more laps to get a feel for it." Fu Nanli. When will he be able to completely let go of his heart? Wen Qiao rode several laps in a row, and her speed was very stable. She was confident that she would have no problem finishing in the top 3. The main thing about the jockey club was the horses. Her role as a jockey was at best the icing on the cake. She rode 8 times in total and finally got off the horse. The old man and Fu Nanli murmured, "This god of war really likes our girl." He was not so well behaved in front of Song Yu. Fu Nanli. The objects of envy expand further. Wen Qiao came over with sweat on her back, and the old man took out a tissue. Fu Nanli took it and wiped her sweat. Wen Qiao's mouth was dry. "I'm a little thirsty." "Get in the car. There is a small refrigerator in the car." After saying goodbye to the old man, the two got in the car. Wen Qiao drank a bottle of water. He drank too quickly and the water flowed out of the corner of his mouth. Fu Nanli's eyes darkened and he took out a tissue to wipe her. Wen Qiao choked, coughing violently. Fu Nanli patted her on the back. "You can choke even if you drink water. What's the difference between you and a child?" Wen Qiao said calmly, "A child can't have a boyfriend, and he still has such a handsome boyfriend." After all, he had to worry about it, so Wen Qiao wanted to say some nice words to make him happy. Young Master Fu was really happy, and the corners of his mouth raised slightly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 969. Wen Qiao went to the racecourse to train after school. The employees of Zhonghuan Group discovered that their prince got off work at 5 o'clock on time every day, never waited for late work, and never worked overtime for a minute. Yamingkaiu had a headache. She originally thought there was hope for retirement, but this guy's recent passive and slack attitude made her worry again. Fu Nanli showed up at the racecourse on time to supervise the training of the god of war. After training for less than half a month, the Heikan Jockey Club sold out all tickets at the Yingtai racecourse in Heikan, which can accommodate 20,000 people. On the day of the horse racing, Song Yu asked her parents to push her in a wheelchair to watch the race. But the old man is still in the VIP room. Fu Nanli did not enter the exclusive private room for rich people this time, but reserved a seat in the first row. The horse racing begins and all horses and jockeys are on standby at the starting point. Uncle Li looked at it with a telescope and suddenly said in shock, "On the horse of God of War number 85, there seems to be." Fu Huiyang's face darkened. "Why are you so surprised?" This time Qiu Ya also accompanied the old man to watch the game. She thought about it. Just hearing about contestant number 85 made her feel very abrupt. "Old man, take a look." Qiu Ya brought her own telescope, and she and the old man each looked at the starting point of the competition venue. It didn't matter what she saw. She was so shocked that she almost lost her grip on the telescope in her hand. The person sitting on the horse was Wen Qiao. She knew that Wen Qiao was the owner of this horse, but wasn't the jockey, a girl named Song Yu? Why did she do it herself? She was confused for a moment and heard the old man's voice, "Then why did the girl go into battle herself?" Uncle Li said worriedly, "Yes, this is very dangerous, isn't it? Why didn't the young master stop it? It's really worrying." Fu Huiyang chuckled, "That girl is making fun of this horse racing meeting. Does she think it is a child's game of playing house? There are nearly 100 players from more than 30 countries participating. Uncle Li, isn't that right? Let me ask the young master what he means." Fu Nanli received a call from Uncle Li and only replied perfunctorily, "The game is about to start, so just watch the game with peace of mind." After hanging up the phone, bang, gunshot, and the game officially started. Uncle Li didn't care what to say. Last time, the old man didn't even take a second look during the race, except for a lazy glance after being overtaken by the god of war on the last lap. But this time, from the moment the gun was fired, the old man held the telescope with both hands and watched intently. Uncle Li couldn't help but nod. The old man was duplicitous. Although he said he looked down on Xiao Wen, he still cared about whether that girl could win this game. Fu Nanli was sitting in the front row, with his heart always raised, and the camera was always locked on contestant number 85. The audience was waving flags and cheering, and many people were cheering for number 85. Compared to the first competition, number 85 already has a group of loyal fans. The girl under his lens seems to be chivalrous and marching forward bravely, without any hesitation or timidity in her body. The aura has crushed a group of men. This time the competition still started amidst the thunder of Wen Qiao's god of war and the old man. The two horses with the highest expectations were almost neck and neck from the middle of the race. The jockey of number 36 Horse Thunder is a very experienced old jockey. Because he has won many times, he is a little careless and missed the championship last time. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 970. It won't happen this time. This time he is fully prepared and comes with the determination to win. And when I went to the stables today, I saw that the jockey of horse number 85 was actually another little girl. He felt that his chances of winning were even greater. But now, halfway through the race, horse number 85 was always running alongside him, and he became a little anxious. Although the old man didn't blame him for losing the race last time, he was the #1 jockey in the world and lost repeatedly to an unknown girl. How could he lose face? Competition requires concentration and moving forward without distraction or distracting thoughts. The younger a calf is, the more fearless and invincible it is. On the last lap of the track, when Xiao tightened the reins, his eyes were solemn, focusing on the key points, and he was bound to win. The jockey number 36 beside her looked at the girl next to her from time to time. The more you pay attention to it, the more chaotic it becomes. In the last 100 meters, a gap gradually formed. The more anxious number 36 became, the more disobedient the horse was. The god of war seemed to be carrying its glory, running with lightning speed, desperately heading towards the finish line. Bang, the gunshot sounded at the finish line. Qiuya's face turned pale in the VIP room. Wen Qiao won, winning the race by an absolute margin of nearly 2 seconds. The whole place was in an uproar, and the shouts of number 85 almost shook the venue. Wen Qiao was the focus of everyone's attention. She even saw her get off her horse, go straight to the auditorium, and then be hugged by Fu Nanli. The two of them were locked on the big screen. They showed off their affection in front of 20,000 people and even millions of live viewers. Qiuya only felt that she was ridiculous, and Baba came over just to watch others show affection in public. She looked at the old man uneasily, but the expected anger did not appear. The old man just gently put down the telescope in his hand and said softly, "I really didn't expect it." Uncle Li quickly offered him a cup of tea. "I never expected that Xiao Wen would have the skills to do this." Qiuya was in a depressed mood, but the old man didn't get angry. Was he even a little appreciative? Wen Qiao made a desperate move and won again. There was no way, she didn't have such a talent for sports, she couldn't ride a horse to please the old man, she could only watch her opponent pursue the victory, but she was defeated. Fu Huayong took a sip of tea. "The main thing is to choose the horse well." Uncle Li followed his words and said, yes, if you choose the horse well, even a jockey who knows nothing about it can win the championship." In the auditorium of the stadium, the big screen immediately cut away. At first, the director did not know that the person was the prince of the Fu family. In addition, he was handsome and noble, and there was a scene of the champion embracing him, so he cut the scene. Gave them. Unexpectedly, the leader immediately rushed into the studio and ordered him to cut the screen immediately. After all, the old man and the prince of the Fu family are both low-key people by nature. This is a live broadcast watched by millions of people, so if they offend the prince, the Fu family's support for the horse racing industry may be discontinued. Qin Bei whispered, "Master, the camera has been cut away." Fu Nanli caressed Wen Qiao's face, "You performed well." Wen Qiao couldn't hide her heart beating violently, and the adrenaline soaring into her mind was hard to sink. At this moment, Wen Qiao was crazy and passionate. She stood on tiptoes and kissed his lips in front of everyone.